welcome in everybody. My name is Cole, or DM Coltrane, and welcome to the Passion Project, which focuses on sharing people's passions. Super simple. And I will get a script down eventually, but this is episode 1. This is Ben Rice, PLG. If you want to give a quick little thing about you.
I'm Ben. I'm passionate. Did I win? Did I get it?
You
I
won.
got it.
You won the prize. Congratulations. So Ben and I actually, we go back quite a bit, a couple years now on Twitch. Just fellow streamers, fellow Twitch friends. He's always been just such a good guy to talk to across the board. And the object of this podcast is to get people out of their shells a bit more in terms of like I said a joke this morning, but it was pretty much I'm almost 30 and I still really don't know what I want to do with my life. So let's go explore people that at least have a good direction and see if that's just a good opportunity to kind of like explore. So for Ben, of course, he's got like, I guess we could start with a simple, super question of like, what are you the most, would you say like your top couple things, or are you the most passionate about, or things that you want to share with people?
I would say that it's really like there's a personal drive of discovery and skill acquisition. And that is kind of what has turned into the various things that I have put a bunch of time in. I probably am heavily influenced by kind of the natural default state of my severely ADHD riddled mind of hyperfixation onto certain things. I will have a hard time focusing at all on things that I'm not interested in, but if I get a little bit interested in something, I might study it in college for 7 years or practice it for 21 years on my own. And those sorts of things are basically what I've sort of built that skill recognition and acquisition. I'm attracted to the idea of developing skill sets, working on those things, and it's almost become addictive to the process of recognizing those things. And so the way that that's manifested in my life has been specifically picking up really, really heavy things, strengthening my body, working on my musical awareness and vocal production with singing and music, and now has kind of moved towards streaming and putting myself out there and having conversations with a lot of people.
Right.
So
now you are probably you are probably definitely one of the most well-spoken guys that I know. You are definitely like a first candidate for me. You're actually the first person I did ask to join this. No, seriously, it was like, Ben speaks well, very well, in terms of just clear arguments, something that everyone could learn from. And he's obviously got like 2 very clear passions and some 3 things he likes to play with as well. So, I mean, in terms of like, fitness, or what would you classify your fitness as, like, specifically? What would you prefer to call it?
Well, it's the sport is powerlifting, so it's the competition of the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. I've kind of moved away from the competitive, the competitive aspect of it, of like going to competitions, because I've always been more attracted to kind of the personal development of that, and it's not always necessarily the most reflected from the results of a competition as much as it's your own progression versus the version of, because like anybody can show up to a competition. Someone can just show up and they're way ahead of where you are from where they started, and there's all sorts of other factors that are out of your control. But I've always liked the idea of being able to look back and compare current me to previous me, and like I could kick that guy's. It's no problem. It'd be super easy.
Are you lifting more now than you were then during competition era? I guess you could say.
Well, I mean, with COVID and everything, I kind of have taken a break from it, so I'm not like retired. No. But the main focus has shifted more towards more and more into the process and less into the competitive aspect. When it comes to skill acquisition, or when it comes to you're working on any kind of pursuit of mastery in something, you have like your ceiling of performance, and then you have like your floor of performance.
Okay. Yeah.
And your ceiling is like your best day. Everything's gone perfectly. This is the ideal of, if everything goes right, this is what I can output. And then you have the floor, which is like on my worst day, with everything's gone wrong, this is what I can still expect myself to do. Even with that, most people are not here or here. They're somewhere in the middle. Right. My goal has kind of shifted from worrying so much about this one and bringing this one up. So like I'm bringing the floor of my baseline expectation up and up higher, so that I'm more consistent. And that's something that I think that I am one of the more consistent, at least in terms of what I can reasonably expect my body to be able to do. I know a lot of other lifters who it's like they peak really, really well for competitions and they have their best day. Any day I can go into the gym and I can reasonably expect at least this kind of level, which I couldn't have done in the past. Even if I was lifting more absolute weights, I can go in on my worst days, sleep deprived, in terrible nutrition, dehydrated, and still make things work because I've built that bottom line up. So
raising your floor, being more consistent on like
I think
that kind of thing.
I think
consistency over like your peak, essentially.
Well, it's the focus has been on bringing that up because I think that's still gonna. It's sort of the base building model of when people are talking like the pyramid. The wider that base is, the higher the peak can eventually get.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people in their lives have a tendency to just focus only on that ideal output, and the everyday stuff kind of gets lost, and they start to identify themselves as like, oh, this is what I am. I'm at this highest point. And if you don't bring that baseline up, you're going to have way more of a disruptive reaction to when things don't go well.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have gotten to the point now where things are probably going to go pretty well.
Yeah, I guess
because I'm used to it.
Because you're used to, yeah. I mean, I've watched you on Twitch. You guys also go follow him on Twitch if you want to plug your Twitch and your stuff real quick here before we keep going. But
it's me.
It's me.
Ben Rice _PLG. I stream under my real name because I am too old to have a gamer tag.
You don't want Gandalf anymore? You don't want Gandalf anymore?
Well, that was a name that was assigned to me. Someone made a video and
really?
called me. Yeah, they called me. That's how pretentious would I be if I just started calling myself?
I thought it was endearing. I don't know.
I think it's endearing, but it's definitely not a self-ascribed title. Yeah,
that came from something specific.
There's a 8-minute video of an Australian man that I'd never met who made it's called the Ben Rice shout out, and he basically talked about how great he thinks I am. I always point to, if someone's like, what do you want to be? Like, what kind of person do you want to be? What's your idealized self? I just say the guy that this person described because he's overly flattering about.
Oh, I definitely want to see this video then.
How great I am. Oh yeah, he says a lot of Australian C words, so you just got to be ready. But they're like
we'll put some. Yeah, we'll put some tags.
Some bleepy bleeps in it. But yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, cool, this person read. That was one of the biggest moments for me that someone who I don't know, have never interacted with, saw what I was doing and found value, and then of their own volition and interest decided they wanted to tell other people about it. That was one of the most powerful experiences of my creative life. Of I'm putting something out there, because there's always this feeling of, am I doing something that matters to people more than it just is to me, right? And streamers,
for
like
sure.
we're doing our day to day. It's like, this is a bottom line. I love my job, but it is a job.
Yep.
And I have to worry about certain things. Can I pay the bills? Am I taking care of my responsibilities? But then having somebody who is like, no, this mattered to me in this way. Anytime someone like does art about you or does something like unprompted, it is an incredibly powerful, enriching, and motivating experience to see that of like, okay, no, this mattered to somebody. It's not just me hoping that I'm putting something good out in the world. Someone found benefit. So
no, that's seriously. I mean, that just sounds like just an amazing aspect you don't even think about as a creator. And I guess from what kind of like, just to kind of get some rudimentary stuff out of the way, like what kind of get you started in pursuit of like powerlifting? Because usually when people think fitness, they think like more physique or something like that. Did you just see some guy lifting something heavy, or did you see like just some person inspire you to push you in that direction, or what was the kind of the?
I was a weird kid.
You were weird?
I started when I was 10. I started when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
My family didn't have a lot. We were not homeless.
I get what you're saying.
We were definitely not rich.
Okay.
And so didn't have a lot of things. We had some things, and I'm grateful for those things. But I liked the idea of agency in the world, being able to do stuff for myself and by myself was always a really attractive quality, and getting stronger felt like something that was that. There was part of it where it was like, oh, I could look stronger too, but that was very, very secondary to me. It was always more centered on I want to be able to just decide that I'm going to do that thing, and I'm going to do that thing, and it doesn't matter that it was heavy. I can do it anyway because I've gotten myself to that point. And I guess it is kind of a self-actualization or agency in the world. Being strong is very rarely a bad thing. in just about anything that you're gonna do.
I mean, it is very, you're either respected or you're looked at just with the state of like awe, kind of, as that one Australian man with lots of C words definitely said. But like, there is just this, of course, like everybody wants to be strong in some capacity. Besides, people usually just go for like physique. I'm just so used to, at least for me, I'm so used to people from my background in like, acting land. Everyone like trying to be more physique based, so no one really cares like in terms of like, oh, I can deadlift 700 pounds. Well, yeah, it's cool, but it's not what people are like looking at, because it's all visual.
I have always been more attracted to the idea of kind of underselling and over delivering.
Yes.
In terms of, it was always an attractive quality to me when people would look and be like, I didn't think you'd be able to do that. Like that is that, as opposed to, because what
people
you
think that
see
of
with
you?
somebody who's maybe a little bit less now. No, I still get it. I still get it. People are like, okay, he's not going to pick that up. And I do. And it was even more so when I was like younger and smaller, like in the earlier weight classes that I was in.
When did you start again?
Pretty thin. I started, I would call it exercising with intention outside of organized sports in 1999. I was 10 years old.
Okay.
So I was doing sports ever since I could remember, just because I was always like, I never really cared as much about the sport, more about the skill that I was getting better at this thing. I wanted to be really good at the things that I did.
Right.
And I wasn't. I don't know if I've ever started with anything in my life where I was initially good at it. I have
have a natural kind of natural kind of capacity for it, and then you're just you started from zero.
I mean, I might have the capacity for it in the long term, but I was definitely not the one in any of the things that I'm interested in that excelled the fastest initially. But the thing that I did do was I just kept doing it when they stopped.
Right.
Like a lot more often than not, I would just kind of endure the low points and just keep going.
Right.
And I think that can get people a lot farther than they think.
Well, the low points are, at least when starting something like that specific, like some like crazy, I don't want to call this a hobby, because it's a lifestyle for you, really, right, at this point. So I would say like it's usually the low points that intimidate the most people. It's like, oh, I really want to like be able to bench 300 pounds, 500 pounds, like, so, but there's always the worry about injury, the worry about form, and whatever else. What would you say got you kind of pushed you through past those low points, is what I'm trying to get to. It's just the long walk, drink water.
Well, the only thing that I knew was, this is where I'm at. All I can do is either quit or keep going. Like that was it. So the idea of getting disheartened by not having, and then I think more often than not, it's about expectation management. And I was lucky. Well, I was lucky early on that I kind of started embracing process-oriented thinking as opposed to outcome-oriented thinking.
Oh, okay.
And so in your expectations, you're like, well, I want to bench this much weight.
Right.
And it was like, I just want to work as hard as I can in this workout.
Right.
Kind of a thing.
Today I got this done within my ability.
Well, the effort becomes the goal. And it's like, I can't necessarily control the outcome. And it helps a lot when it comes to something like streaming, because I want this many viewers. You'll never hear me say that, because it's not up to me. No matter how hard I work, no matter what I do, it's someone else is choosing to do this thing. I will never say this is the goal that is determined on that. But what I might say is I want to work on being better at these things and improving my output and effort. It may not result in that thing. I can't point and say this is how many people need to be here. This is how many subs I need to maintain, or this is how many followers I have on some platform. That is absolutely disconnected from anything that I can do. I could be incredibly lucky or incredibly unlucky, but the only thing that I can work on is doing something more with my own effort and channeling that in a way that can potentially be more effective. But then you work as hard as possible, and you just give yourself the best chance to capitalize on an opportunity. And then you accept that, the chances of that working are still higher than holding an expectation of other people to act on your behalf, because it just isn't likely.
Well, that's something you can, that's actually, you hit the nail on the head in terms of like expectations. Like you have complete control. Well, you have more control over lifting than you do over like your streaming. Like you can you can see you're at it. You can see how you progress. Streaming, it's like super, it can go everywhere. There's no way to like predict it.
Well, it's similar in lifting. Like I can predict, again, my effort, I can predict my input, but if I slip on the ice and hurt myself, that's all that progress potentially gone, right? You can't actually control those things. So all you can really focus on, and that's one of the things that's really I found. I didn't know this initially, but I found it when it came to the strength training, is that it can give you transferable skills to apply to other things. Your capacity to take the left, like there's very few things that are as personal as a pursuit of mastery of your own physical capability. The ability for you to express your physical will in the world and have it done. The pickle jar. If I want to open that pickle jar, my ability to express my will and make that pickle jar open is increased by the amount of time that I've spent developing myself physically.
Now, have you ever had trouble? Personal. Have you ever had trouble opening a pickle jar? Now is the question.
See, the thing is, if I do, nobody's opening that, because there's no pickle company. Let me just say, there's no pickle jarring company in the world that would make the standard of expectation to open the jar more than an 800-pound deadlift. It's just not going to be.
We gotta reach out to Kosher.
They glued it. They glued it at that point. That's not. It's no one. You're not gonna find someone else, because it's like it doesn't matter how much stronger you are at that point. That thing ain't coming open.
All right, pickle jar challenge. We gotta find someone almost as strong as you. Bring it on. Like tighten as best they can without breaking the bottle.
Oh, I'll break it.
I guess in terms of besides, there's obviously more impressive things than you do than opening up pickle jars. What would you say like your most impressive kind of like your thing you are the most proud of in terms of like your fitness journey? Or your heavy lifting journey?
Oh man,
there's probably a lot, but seriously, whatever comes to mind.
I've had a few. Actually, got scolded by a friend for not bringing these up. I've won a couple of world championships. I've set a couple of world records where no one else had done that thing. I'm kind of more driven now by stunt type stuff on stream. Someone's like, why did you do that? And I'm like, because no one else will. And it's like, they may not do it because it's ill-advised. I like the idea of setting these ridiculous challenges for myself.
Like what's one recently?
And then just doing those things.
What's one you've done recently?
I totaled 1,800 pounds in under a minute at a charity event in September. As a result of a charity bet, I totaled 1,700 pounds in 10 minutes from empty barbell, no warm-ups to loading that up. So the 1,800 was a 635 squat, a 365 bench, and a 750 deadlift.
All within 10. All within.
Jeez. That was 60 seconds. So someone started a clock. First of all, someone paid $100 to the charity for me to shotgun a monster beforehand, but it was a Monster Fiesta, which I'm allergic to because those are mango and it makes my tongue fuzzy. So I couldn't feel my throat the whole time. But I squatted that weight, walked over, bench pressed, and then deadlifted, and that was in a 60-second time period.
But that made it even more impressive.
Oh yeah, it was funny because we were splitting time during that segment. It was a weekend long charity event.
Okay, I do remember this.
I was slated to do my 1,800-pound total which is a top 1% total. Like there's.
I promise you, most people are never lifting any of those categories you just said. There's pretty much guaranteed no one's that you have to go find people. Like search them out.
That would qualify you for nationals. Like you'd be able to go and be a top 10 competitor in a national competition. And I did that. I was splitting time with the donut eating contest. Sorry. So it was like I'm doing this stuff and I'm dying, and I look up and they're just eating Krispy Kremes, and I'm like, who drew this straw? One of us is working a little harder than the other right now.
You have to lift the literal ton, and you guys get to eat donuts. Take your pick.
Yeah. We're actually working on building up towards. I would probably consider this upcoming challenge that I'm working on to be the most physically impressive thing that I've ever done, because I don't know anybody else who would try it.
Are you sharing what it is yet or no?
Yeah. So in some fitness, a lot of CrossFit things, they'll do this where it's called an every minute on the minute protocol. So you do a task. It's like you have a clock going. When it hits 1 minute, you do that task.
Right.
And then you finish that task and you have the rest of that minute before, at minute 2, you start and you have to do
sort of a circuit training, right?
Yeah. Kind of, but it might be the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like you go until you can't do that thing.
Oh, you go.
So for me. Okay. So for me, we did one that was a few things. I'm gonna come back to this.
Go for it.
I've maintained for the last 185 consecutive weeks. We've deadlifted 700 pounds every week. without fail. Whether I'm sick, whether I'm hurt, whether I'm traveling, we've at least loaded up 700 pounds and lifted it one time for the last 3.5 years. That is that bringing the floor up of like, no matter how bad I feel, it may not be pulling my top limit as much, but every single week, this floor does not dip down, no matter how bad I feel.
Always wondered that about. I should have like asked, but like I've always wondered that specific. Like, why is it always 700? Because when I pop into the streams, that's the floor. Yep. I thought that was like, I knew it was a consistency thing, but I'm like, why isn't he pushing 800, 900, like going like that direction?
In those, it's been 800. Yeah. I've done maybe 6 or 7 800-pound pulls, many that are in 700, but the minimum is always 700 because that's what that maintenance there. But this other thing is I'll load up 605 pounds or 275 kilos on the bar for deadlift and 315 pounds or 143 kilos on the bar for bench press. And every minute on the minute, I alternate with sets of 2. And originally I did that. So it's for like, I don't have a whole lot of time. I got long-winded. My ADHD kicked in and stream took a long time and I need to finish this. How do I get this much work done in a shorter amount of time? Well, I'll just put myself on a set time limit and I'll alternate between these things. One day someone had asked me, like, what's the hardest workout you've ever done in terms of the most volume or total amount of work that was done? I said, there was a workout I did like 50 total working reps with over 600 pounds in a workout. Later that day on stream,
did you say 50
total? So like over the course of the thing, not like one set of 50.
Okay, no, like I figured that you were pushing 600. Don't worry, I didn't think that, but yeah.
Yeah, but what later in that same stream, this was last March, I was going to do this thing where I was going to do 5 rounds of that alternating. So 605 on deadlift for 2, 315 on deadlift for 2, every minute alternating. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to do 5 of those. That's so. And I'm like, I feel pretty good. Let's do 10. And then I got to 10. And then I said, I actually feel okay. Like I'm sweating pretty bad, but my hands are holding up. The weights aren't feeling like they're getting a whole lot harder. And we ended up doing 35 rounds. So I worked out and did a set of either a 605 bench or a 315 or a 605 deadlift. That 605 bench would be really, really impressive. 605 deadlift and a 315 bench alternating for 70 minutes and did over 70, reps for that session. And I remember saying like, I'm never doing that again. That was such a one-time, like, I don't know anybody who's ever done something so silly, this many things.
But you saw a challenge and you know what? You kind of just tackled it. I mean, it sounds like you did pretty damn good. Yeah,
well, it's just, I didn't know what it was going to be. It was supposed to be 5 and we did 35. And then I was thinking to myself, like, I need to stop at 35 because if I do 36, then it's like, why don't I just do 40? And then if I get to 40, it's like, we're so close to 50. And I'm like, that would be ridiculous. We're working now.
Do you think you could have done 50?
I'm gonna find out at the end of the year. So that's the challenge. is me literally saying I said I would never do this again, but maybe one more time, because that would be 100 reps of 600 pounds and 100 reps of 315 in the same workout. That would just be so dumb.
I kind of want to see how we can. I mean, I know a lot of people understand that, but I need to like somehow relate that to like. I don't even know how to relate that to like normal anything.
It's not. I don't know anyone. I
can't like. How many like fridges are you lifting, kind of thing?
It's a lot of fridges. It was funny when for our 24-hour stream, because you had done the push-up thing. I remember you were doing the push-up thing for subs, so I did, and I was doing a subathon, and like 2 minutes before, I'm like, I don't have incentives picked out for this. Okay, I'll just say I'm gonna bench 225 for every sub or $5 or 500 bits.
It's kind of funny when you mention the push-ups thing, because it's like there was a point in time where it's like I should stop. It's like I can keep going, and I don't know why, but I can. So I was like, screw it. I said 500. We ended up doing almost 700 that day. So it was like not necessarily the same ballpark, but still, it's like there was a point for some reason. It's like I feel good. Let's do it.
You just kind of keep going. You just at that point, you're like, I'm this far in now. Yeah. But during that stream, I had said like, okay, 225 on bench for everyone. And in that 24 hours, I ended up benching 225 for 555 reps.
Did you say
my parents waited until hour 22. My parents waited until hour 22 to be like, hey, we're going to match the next $500 that come in, kind of a thing. And it's like, you guys pick now? I've been awake for 20 hours. And this is the time when my parents would have been nice hour 2 or 3. So that happened.
So you benched 220. I for the first time in my life hit benching 230 last year. And I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And then you're like, I just did that 500 times.
Well, you said, like, how does someone like equivocate that? And I was gonna say that my friend, as I was finishing that, it goes, I need to find out. I need to know. And so he goes and he loaded up and he's like, I'm gonna see how much I can bench press.
Yeah.
And he came back and he goes on the stream. He's gone for like 30 minutes. He goes, you're strong, man. That's just so hard. I did 190 and I'm feeling like I'm gonna die. How are you just doing this? And it was like that right there. People don't know. I promise, it's really.
I mean, you can't label that anything other than like you are unbelievably passionate about like pushing yourself in this direction. Because I don't think anybody. A lot of people don't even know people at your level in terms of like powerlifting.
Well, I've kind of, like I said, I kind of moved away from the competitive. At that charity event, a lot of other people who I respect in the sport, who are at my level of that top end strength or even above it, were like, I don't know how you did all that. I wouldn't do that. Or the same thing with the stream earlier in January, where I said we're going to do a 48-hour stream. People are like, that's silly. You don't do that. And I'm like,
I'm so mad at you for that, but for a different reason.
I'm gonna win that every time. If all I have to do is just choose not to fall asleep, I'm not sleeping. I'm gonna stay up as long as I need to stay up.
So we talked about some of your impressive things, and I think that 50-hour stream needs to be mentioned because, and you were working out during it, weren't you?
Yeah, we did a 700. We did our 700-pound deadlift during that. Yeah. We did. I actually broke the world record for the all bosses speedrun of the Pathless. I got
didn't know that.
the second ever sub 2-hour run on that category.
So weightlifting record, and then some. I want to explore the other world records in a second. I want to go back to those because we didn't mention those really. What's the ones you had? And now a gaming one. I didn't know about the game. I knew you were loving the Pathless when you were playing it, but it looked like a lot of fun. I didn't know you broke a world record. Congrats.
I basically built the category. There weren't people didn't really run that category. There were some runners in the any percent.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, this game's really good for you to be skipping so much of it. What if you did all bosses?
So
and people were like, oh man, if you get it down to around 2 hours, we'll look into it. And now it's got a decently active community of runners.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's funny. I think that we'll explain like what some people might not even know what deadlifting is, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't deadlift. But for gaming, what he is saying, any percent, basically anytime a gamer says I'm running a game any percent, or a streamer, that means they are trying to get to the credits as fast as possible, whether through
any means necessary.
Sometimes it's like without glitches, sometimes it's with glitches. And so I guess, what was your category specifically again then, you said?
It was just all bosses. You have to get to the end credits, but you have to also beat all the bosses. And then I created the category for the true ending, which is where you do a bunch of extra stuff, extra puzzles. Basically, It's kind of the 100% ending, but no one really ran that other than me.
So it's
I ran it and I got it to this point, and I'm like, yeah, I think the all bosses is a more fun category.
So you made your own category of a challenge, and then you broke the world record in the more popular category.
I kind of routed that one.
Yeah.
It became more popular. I don't want to claim, like, other people were interested in it. If the game sucked, then no one else would have done it. But I was interested in doing this thing. Like, I want to get really good at it again. I saw something. I was attracted to the idea of developing it and getting really good at it. Yeah. And so I applied the same kind of thought process and did that thing. And
so
all the
routing, just for those that don't know, routing is basically he made the path. Like, he basically trailblazed. Like, the people would follow basically the way that he did it for that game, called the Pathless. It's really fun. Looks really pretty.
Pathing the Pathless.
Pathing the Pathless. That's what he's doing. So he routed it, and he ran all the bosses to get to the credits, and then he made his own category, just so people understand what. So it was a lot of hours, a lot of work. Really fun to watch, though. I did like that game. It was very enjoyable. I do wish there's some games I wish just got more attention. That was one of them. Yeah.
No, it would have been really cool if, I think initially when Sekiro dropped, I was kind of hoping that it would sort of go a different way than it did.
Oh wait, what do you mean?
Gained some. Sekiro was kind of the game that I was like, all right, this is my chance. I know all these Souls runners. This is my chance to I like the look of this game. I'm interested in it. Let's start investing some time into this. And all the Dark Souls runners are going to come over because it's the new From Software thing. And everybody together as a community is going to break the game lock of everybody just plays Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
And does the same meta hitless route for Dark Souls 3. And we're going to all move over and everyone's going to start playing Sekiro. And it lasted a month. And then everybody started going back
to Dark Souls.
And like started kind of back to Dark Souls 3 and back to Dark Souls 1. And then Dark Souls 2 had a bit of a resurgence for a little while.
Thank God,
and people
no.
were like, oh my God, I'm playing my first time with Dark Souls 2. And then I remember being annoyed. I was like, you
thought it was going to be like the
little
next
turds.
one.
I wanted it to be.
No,
I think it's
Sekiro. I think it's a better.
A lot of fun.
I think Sekiro is a better game. I'll say this now than Dark Souls in terms of just pure game or gameplay. Like it just feels better when you accomplish.
It's a different game for
it's
sure.
Different
because it's an action. It's an action game, not an RPG.
And I think the RPG has more replayability than the action game.
And that's what people were finding. But then I also saw a lot of people were like, I think people got frustrated. This is my opinion, right? I can't like point to this. I felt like it was one of those things where a lot of people had gotten comfortable with their idea of being good at the thing because they had developed the skill set for Dark Souls, but they hadn't done that process more than that one time. And so when it comes to the new game and you're having to develop a new skill set and learn new systems and mechanics, when it wasn't like they'd already gone through the thing in there, and this is again, I'm projecting a lot and making assumptions about how people's brains are working. I can't know someone's intention or someone's heart, but the idea of like
we're on the internet, we do it all the
I'm
time.
couching this statement because it's going to come off as overly harsh to people who don't deserve it to be harsh. But when I would look at that, I would be like, yeah, a lot of people just like the idea that they got good at this thing, and it was really frustrating because this game is just objectively harder.
It is.
And it's different because you can't and it's not as solved. Like you're gonna have to come up with how to you have to figure it out, and the figuring out process is harder than just here's route, execute.
Right.
Like and as somebody who did Dark Souls 3 Deathless in this last year, I was running a route. I was just trying to execute, and I did a couple of things where I'm adjusting the way I did something versus what was suggested. But for the most part, it would have been a lot different if I'm like, I don't know anybody who's ever done this before. I'm going to figure out the way to do it and figure out what I need to do. And
you were like a pioneer for it.
It feels so self-congratulatory.
Here's the thing: we don't. From based on our knowledge, you were the first one. There's probably someone out there, but there's too many people to ever like clarify who did it first, kind of thing. So for the sake of the argument, you're at least one of the first.
So when it came to Sekiro, I was like, this is my chance. I'm going to challenge run, and I'm going to do all bosses and mini bosses. So everybody except for the Shishiman Warriors. So I did all the prayer beads and all of the memories, which are the main bosses and the main mini bosses. And I'm going to try to do that deathless without resurrecting. And everyone else who was doing challenge runs was focusing on the Immortal Severance ending of that. And
so in the game, there's multiple endings to get to the credits. All the goals of challenge runners to get to the credits in some way. So that was this game has how many endings? 4? Is there 4 endings in Sekiro, or 5?
Yeah, you have Immortal Severance. We have Shura, Immortal Severance, Purification, and Dragon's Return. So there's 4.
There's 4 endings. So you basically pick one of the endings you want to get to as fast, and it's its own category in speedrunning or challenge running for gaming. So.
Yeah, and then the stated rules. So my thing was I just needed to beat all the bosses. And get to the end credits without dying. And I was the first one. That was my world's first. That was my epic gamer moment. Granted, a lot of other people were pursuing another thing, so there wasn't a whole lot of people who were pursuing this one thing. But because of that, I didn't have something that I could look to for no one else had done it. So I don't. How do I go about doing this? What strategies do I implement? I had to come up with my own stuff a lot. And that was the attractive part for me. Same thing with the Pathless. Not many people were running this category. I saw that there was going to be the thing, and so I wanted to do that. I was attracted to the skill acquisition and the development of that.
Right.
I think a lot of people weren't in that. They just wanted to be good at the thing so they could say, I'm good at Dark Souls.
That's okay. So that's actually an interesting. I mean, this is a little bit off topic, but it seems like a lot of people in terms of like this, like the Souls community, especially, they definitely do lean toward that. It's like a lot of people just are going off of what's already been done. Like I know when I did my version of it, my deathless run of it, the only twist I put on it was the katana. Like, but I'm pretty sure people had done that before. But I was like, all right, I want to be a little different. I want to do a little bit different. But it was like, that's still it's kind of funny. It's still like my most proud gamer moment was me beating that deathless with the Uchigatana.
It's the challenge. Yeah,
it's the challenge that was the attractive quality. So
the frustration I had was that it kind of died off. Like I put all this time and this investment into this thing, and I'm proud of the accomplishment. But it was really annoying to see everybody just kind of default back to what they were doing again.
Right. It would have been really cool to see. It'd been really cool to see the Sekiro get the same amount of love that Souls got.
And then it won Game of the Year.
Yeah.
And
it came back.
Opened up again. So I took the L. I'm like, I invested all this time in working on the skill set, developing this thing. I was an early adopter. I was trying to be involved in this process, but it's just not going to work out. The category is not really going anywhere. And then Game of the Year happens, and suddenly everybody starts playing Sekiro again.
Crazy.
And it's like, you bitches, what are you doing? You sneaky beans. Where were you? Oh, it's Game of the Year. Right now, it's a fun thing to do.
No, now
we could have been this. It could have been this great the whole time. Everybody could have been on board.
I personally think it deserved it. Game of the Year, all that hype that came.
I thought it was great. I think it was a great thing. It's just,
isn't it just the nature of Twitch though, where it's just like,
it's kind of in your brain. It's like, oh wait, this is Game of the Year. Well, now it's the thing that we need to do. Oh, it is a good game. I was favoring this other thing over it.
Yeah, but critics say it's good, so therefore it must be good. That's the nature of our social media, Twitch. So it's just like, play the most popular thing. A lot of people play the most popular thing. Not everybody. Like, obviously, heavy lifting and music combined are not the most popular thing on Twitch together, but they are very, very impressive. It's funny. Like, the ironic part is it is super impressive to everybody that is not on Twitch. You go anywhere in the world, you will say, I can deadlift 700 pounds. People are gonna be like, what? You can show it, like, prove it. Like, or I can sing this, I can sing above high C. Actually, what's your highest note you can sing? We'll get into music in a second.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna go into like falsetto stuff or just belt.
We can say both. Why not both?
I've done high C sharp and I hit one D natural in my life, the D above high C.
Right.
In a vocalization. In repertoire, I've had a few B naturals that would be there, and then for falsetto, I've never actually tested it. I don't know.
You could probably go pretty flipping high on that.
Pretty high.
You go pretty high.
I have a higher set voice anyway. Yeah. I have a naturally higher voice. I'm a tenor, so it's up there. But
the irony is, like, anywhere in the world, you would just be like, it's just your passion shines through outside of Twitch. It's just like the irony is just hitting me now in terms of just like, you're a very impressive human being all the way through, and you definitely deserve more attention than you're getting. But you have a very good mentality about it. But I would say you can go anywhere, and then Twitch just doesn't seem to appreciate it as much. They're in like the gaming, the challenge runs, the weird quirky stuff you can't see anywhere else.
It's not on the platform as much. And when you look at what's really popular on the platform, there's sometimes it's like, I don't know if I want to be doing whatever
that category.
Well, I mean, right now it's gambling. Gambling's a huge issue. I think in the next 4 to 6 months, by the way, that it's going to get cracked down on and be like looking at the legal ramifications of what's going to happen.
But it's really bad. For people that don't know, so on Twitch you can go to like online casinos, but you can stream everywhere. So internationally, gambling's illegal in a lot of places. So we have a little bit of an issue in terms of like advertisers coming on and like advertising for people that are like on gambling sites and doing real money. So there's a big issue with Twitch on that front.
The fact that those sites are sponsoring the streamers to do it too. So it's like you're gonna. I honestly don't even hold the streamers. Like, I'm not even like upset at the streamers for doing it, because it's like it's
get your money
being allowed by the platform. It's like you're trying to do what you need to do to make your stuff. But I feel like it's good for the individual, like good for them.
Yeah.
But then you get into the question of like, is it good for the website as a whole?
I would say no, as a flat out.
Yeah, I would probably agree. And then a similar thing happened with the sexualized content of
the recent sexualized.
Of what is it bringing in, and that kind of a thing. Which is like, hey, have your OnlyFans, do your stuff. I don't even care if Twitch was to say like, hey, we have we're going 18 plus. The thing is, they can't have an 18 plus section. The entire website would have to become 18 plus for that to happen. And right now they'd lose out on all their Fortnite, Amazon Prime skin unlock community of all the 13-year-olds
14-year-olds that are on there. Yeah, we don't really get too much into that because that topic's been beaten to death, I think, at this point in time. But we're pretty much on the same page. Like, there's other sites for personally, like,
well, it's just the question of does it
belong on Twitch?
What does it do in terms of well, I don't even care about like the thing about Twitch, like just from a business perspective. If like you're looking at CPMs, advertisers, if it's not even about the thing being bad on the site, it's about advertisers seeing articles written about certain things about the site and saying like,
I
don't even need this. Like, they're not even going. It's like, they're not. Nike isn't going on to Twitch and looking at the sections and like, oh, we don't want to associate with this. They're reading an article that was written about what's going on Twitch and saying, we're not going to mess ourselves up with this. We've got plenty of places to spend our advertising money.
Right. We don't need Twitch like there's more in terms of like, it's advertisers can find more places to advertise. They're not worried about like, yeah, Twitch is a cool market. It's not the biggest market.
Well, and it's not great for advertisers in general. It's already hard enough to get people in there. Like, what streamer do you know who's like, God, I'm so glad we have ads that run? It really helps the experience, and it's so good, and I get so much.
Well, we haven't seen how it helps, like, for the most part, like.
Well, because it doesn't, because there's no because long form live content getting disrupted by ads is disruptive. If you get an ad on some pre-edited curated content, it's going to inconvenience you, but you're not going to miss anything. You're just taken out of it for a moment. But on Twitch, you might have just missed the moment. It's already hard enough to sell people that ads are a good thing on the site, like sell advertisers on that. And then if there's less advertisers, then ads aren't getting run to as many people. The CPMs in terms of payout are going to be lower. And so people aren't getting as much money. Right. And it's like, so just from a business perspective, keeping Twitch something that is brandable, whether what someone's doing is like, Disney isn't advertising on adult entertainment websites, right?
What?
Because they're they're crazy. And you're probably not gonna get a. Did you see that? Well, she's doing a great job. That's not. You're not seeing that happen because they're gonna disassociate their branding from the things that they don't. We were gonna go down a dark place.
This is a family-friendly show. No, I would say I'm with you there on that one, to be honest. And I like back to you in terms of just like there's so many other creators on the app, like especially like in your category, fitness category completely gets neglected or gets neglected more often than not.
I mean, sometimes there's a drive for it. Like, I understand that when it comes to the demand of like what people are looking for, there's some things that just bring in more eyes and awareness. Audience. So I won't even engage with the idea of whether it's deserved or being unfairly neglected, because I'm sure anybody who's streaming something that isn't a game on Twitch, or even people that are streaming a game that's not the game on Twitch, a top five title, is gonna be like, oh man, we should get more. There should be more awareness about this thing. Like, you could, I would.
I guess my point
get
was.
Into that, but,
no, I guess my point was in terms of just like, there are things in terms of just like outside of our Twitch world that are actually impressive to people. Like, they can understand, they can grasp your fitness and your musical talent and your those kind of things. But it's hard to understand, like when we were just even talking about like the hitless stuff and the deathless stuff, people are like, okay, you play a game without dying. Like, okay, like it doesn't connect. It's like when we try to explain people what Twitch is outside of people from Twitch, it's always it's always a weird conversation.
There's a separation between the digital and kind of the IRL.
Right.
Well, we feel like it's such a big thing because it is to us, right? It's our everyday thing, and then to other people, it's just like, oh, I've heard of that. That's that game.
Gaming site.
That's the game on the Fortnite, right? That's
Ninja, game, like that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh.
But I guess that's the other part, like the creating of something is if we're talking about passions, like I'm passionate about doing this thing, this engagement.
I mean, you're clearly definitely one of the most interesting people to watch, just in terms of just talking, like not even the fitness stuff, like the way you can like just communicate to the audience is just such a cool thing. Like, we could even talk about like how your skill as like a debater. Like, I've seen you debate on Twitch, and it's scary. It's good.
It's the skill set thing. I like the idea. There's a quote that I heard in college that really informed this. And I've always been attracted to the idea of being correct.
Yeah.
There's a difference between like, you want to be right or you want to be correct. Like, I'm right. But like, finding the correct answer is an attractive quality to me of learning this thing, and like, I had this not correct notion before. I'm going to get that out of the way, and I'm going to focus in on trying to find the correct answer, whatever the thing is. But there was this quote that I remember in college from a beat poem by Taylor Mawley. I implore you, I bespeak you, and I entreat you to speak with conviction, to say what you mean in a manner which bespeaks the determination with which you believe it. And it was really powerful to me about the impact of...
I'm not going to pretend I didn't understand what you just said, though. What did you say one more time?
Speak with conviction.
Speak with conviction.
Say what you mean in a manner which bespeaks the determination with which you believe it.
Bespeaks the determination with which you speak it. Okay.
With which you believe it. So the idea, if you hold a belief or you have an ideal or you have a thought or a moral conviction, that you owe it to the nature of that thing and the betterment of that idea to convey it in a way that has a chance of being received from another person. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you can't articulate that and convey that to another person, if you can't break it down to its core components so that someone else who doesn't already have that understanding can internalize that and come to at least see your reasoning or come to the understanding of what you're saying, then the idea is going to be stuck with you. And that was always really stuck out to me as the kind of the attractiveness to articulation and being able to formulate a position and either defend that position or attack that position. The idea of being able to, like, this is a thing, go ahead, say your part, and we're gonna try and find the truth of this. But if it comes down to rhetorical skill or our ability to convey the idea to try and have one of those positions win or come out on top, even if it wasn't right, that's also beneficial when you understand that you're doing it and try not to use it maliciously or carelessly. Right. I like the idea of coming to those correct conclusions, but in service to those things, I also like the idea of being able to defend them. And in a lot of instances, I could probably take a side of an argument that I don't actually agree with, and give. I think one of the things that you have credited me here with being good at debate and argumentation. I would say that, like, a lot of that comes from the fact that I tend to attack the position that I'm holding with what I think the best argument is against it. So that if I understand someone else's position better than they do, and I can attack my own position better than they do, then I understand enough of their thought or their belief or their position to be able to kind of hold my own in whatever it is.
Like seeing the weaknesses in your arguments or your ideas and then reinforcing it or being able to attack it just as well in order to prevent it. Yeah. No, that's a quality. Like, I know I definitely don't in terms of I try to actively probably avoid argumentation, but I am non-confrontal. But I would say it is definitely something that it's a desirable quality that I have seen, obviously, from the lifting, the music, and the that's one that I know people don't really, like about you, don't really notice as much, or they don't talk about as much, because it's just something it's like you kind of have to like be there for. It's not something you're not like saying, well, I'm going to debate this. It's like all of a sudden just happens in the natural conversation of whatever it's going on. I think I stepped on it one time on accident when I was in your stream. I was making a joke about love.
Was it during rap or something?
It was during rap, and you were just going like, I was just making a joke, and I'm sorry.
Yep. All right, you unlock the floodgates, Cole. Let's go. And you were warned. And then we just go off on the thing of
Whoops.
I enjoy.
It was an interesting conversation, to be fair.
I am confrontational. But you're saying you're non-confrontational. I'll go off on ridiculous.
I think now sometimes. I'm more in terms. I would say this is true. I'm definitely like, I won't go after an argument. I'll just kind of shut like people. I don't like people walk over me now. It's like I'll just shut people down. Like someone came in last night to one of my streams, and they said, "Oh, I haven't been here in 9 months." And then I was like, "Oh, that's no big deal, man." Blah blah. I was just like, he's like, I look up to you, an older brother, and then he just kept going. I'm like, so where you been 9 months if I look up to you? Like, I just like shut it down. It just like, I kind of definitely more forward in my like I don't like, I took the filter off, I guess you could say, in terms of how I like feel. Cause like, listen, I'm not gonna waste your time pattering around like saying, oh, that's great, that's nice. Like, well, where you been? Just like, if you thought this highly of me, it's like, where were you? Like, it's it sounds like a very jerky thing to say in hindsight.
The idea of like you're recognizing that what someone's saying isn't reflective of their actions.
Yeah.
And I sass people back when I see that, because I try to, when I'm giving advice or when I'm having conversations with people, oftentimes they will ask for my opinion or my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes I will say, I do not care what your goal is. What your passion is, whatever you're passionate about and the things that you're interested in. What I do care about is encouraging a belief that I hold, that we need to be more self-reflective and self-aware when we are determining the correct actions for following through with achieving the thing that you want to do. So you're saying you want this thing. That's fine. I'm not going to say if it's good or bad that you want that thing. Are your lived actions congruent or in line
with what you're saying?
With doing that thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you actively taking those steps, or are you, because then you don't really, if you're not, you think you want the thing, but you're maybe attracted to or wishful about the idea of that thing. But if you're not taking the steps necessary to get you to that point,
right?
Then it's like you're go ahead.
That goes with literally everything you're kind of talking about before. It's like lifting. I want to talk about like getting fit. I want to talk about gaining. I want to talk about this. Like, well, what actions are you taking, like on the daily almost, or anytime to like get toward those goals? So
yeah, the thing is, all this stuff may seem like disconnected or in these different branching areas. The approach, though, the shareable, learnable, transferable skills are still the same. You're determining this thing that you want. You kind of want it. You're wishing for it.
Yeah.
And then you're able to internalize and be reflective about what your actions are reflective of right now, and what they would need to do or be or change to pursue that particular goal. There's things in my own life that I'm still looking at of like, if to do this thing and to achieve this outcome, these are the actions that I would probably need to change. But I'm kind of still attached to this way of doing it.
Right.
And recognizing that this is,
that's probably, to me that sounds like probably the most difficult challenge of that entire. It's like taking that like first like step into that direction personally.
Yeah, you don't have the habitual capacity to recognize that. If it's not like a part of how you live, I would say most people kind of tend to avoid those sorts of things because it's uncomfortable.
No, it is.
We are where we are because we've kind of gotten there from our lived history and all these things. But then if you want to make a change, especially a meaningful or significant one, you're going to have to do things in your life that you've probably never done before. And change, whether it's growth or however you perceive it, is going to be a disruptive and uncomfortable process because it has to. Because if it's the same comfortable, same process, then nothing is going to change. You're going to continue getting what you're already getting. And so that change is very difficult for people, especially when you kind of get into a rhythm of like, this is just how things work.
Especially like, especially fitness and things like that. People think, oh, they see 90 days, they see 30 days, and just like, you're committing to something that you quite like in terms of like last year I had that moment last August, was like looking in the mirror like, I really need to commit to this fitness I've always talked about. So it was more or less like, it was because of you and then another future guest of ours who's Street Grind, basically you and a couple of the people. I was just like, really, I was like, I need to like adjust the way I approach this thing that I want to be like, I want to look a certain way. I'm going for more, I'm going more physique, but that's a lifestyle change. It's not just a like, oh, I do this for a little while, then I'm gonna look like this. No, it's like, and I still like, yes, have I improved? And I'm still in the process of improving, but I'm not there. This isn't like a year-long thing. This is a multiple year-long thing, like lifestyle change all the way through.
Yeah, and then if you want to maintain that, it's not like you do it once and then you're done.
No.
Right? It's like you kind of have to it's like you can't just take a bunch of time off and then de-rust it and have it all come back at the same time. You have to be actively engaged in the maintenance of those things. And a lot of times the things that we tend to want are more effortful. There's a very famous quote, that which we achieve too easily we esteem too lightly. The first time you played a game, you load into the start screen, you hit play and it says press A to win. That's probably not going to be the most meaningful gaming experience for you.
Nope.
If you achieved it so easily by I just pressed this one button and I just auto won the game, There was no development. There was no process. There was no opportunity to embrace a new system and develop a skill set and grow in that experience. And I think that is, whether people realize it or not, it is a kind of commonly or even maybe universally shared desire for people to lean into the discomfort of growth and then get to a certain point, because then you can look back on what you did to achieve that, and that's where you can take pride in what you've done. And
I think if one thing to take away from this is the discomfort of growth, as you said before earlier, it's going to be uncomfortable, but
it necessitates the change. Yeah. Otherwise you'd already be there. Yeah. It's like you have to do something.
What was like kind of like your hardest kind of like, I guess, moment of realization of like this change going on? Because when I'm assuming it was around when you first started, or was it a couple years in?
No, I was pretty motivated when I first started. I didn't really have to develop the one of the common things in kind of the fitness community is discipline over motivation, because it's not the motivation's bad, it's just inconsistent and it's not really up to you. You can't
wake up one day you're like, hey, I feel great, I'm great to be alive, hit the weights. The next day you're like, I want to die in bed. Like,
yeah, motivated is usually the state that we make the goals, that we decide like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this thing, but then the discipline or the dedication or the passion throughout is where you're recognizing that the actions required are maybe a little bit more than you assumed, and you're still having to do them. Discipline is the follow through and the action of the choices you made when you were in a state of motivation. It's when that feeling of the right now enthusiasm and excitement about this thing is gone, and all that's left is making the choice that's in service to the goal that you set for yourself. That's what the discipline is. And most people fall apart at that point. And it's not like you're a bad person, but it's not, and I don't think you're doomed to forever do that. Like, kind of core to my personal belief about human capacity is you can be more. And it's like, it's okay to recognize that 100%. Like, I am who I am, and that's okay. I can be content with this person. I can be grateful for the things that I have in life. It is not ungrateful to want to push for more. And I think it's actually even more of a sign of self-love to recognize that you can be okay with who you are, to be content but not complacent, because you want to grow, because you deserve good things, and you deserve to chase whatever that thing is that is bringing you more fulfillment and satisfaction in your life. And most of the time, those things that are going to make you feel the best in terms of your accomplishment are the things that are going to challenge you and be uncomfortable in some way, because you can look back on those and say, I had to change for this. I had to grow as a person. I had to develop an aspect of myself that didn't manifest on its own. That was me. That was up to me. And you can take more pride in those things. The idea of taking pride in something that you didn't have anything to do with is like, well, I just was this way, and so I'm proud of it. It's like, that feels a little strange to me. I'm way more proud of the things that I've had to work for that I wasn't initially successful at, and develop the skill set, because that is more of an accomplishment than just having something come to you where you loaded into life and it said press A to win, and you did.
Now, in terms of like the aspect of like, because something I've known about you for a while, you use this term like, I get to. It's like, I get to do this kind of thing, and that attitude of gratitude, I probably think correlates with it all. Now, so where did that come from specifically for you? Like, is that something you developed in your own family?
It was just one. I think a lot in my brain. I talk all the time. And I was going through this process of, I just don't want to do this right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Like, you have this thought in your mind of, it's no, but you feel put upon. I've started this path. I have to follow through with it.
Yes.
Do I? No. I get to do this. There's so many, it's like, I just internalized this thought of trying to shift my perspective and bring it back. And so now, before every single workout, I say the same thing, whether it feels like I mean it or not, it's for me. And hopefully someone else can grab something from that and internalize it and utilize it in their own pursuits. But I recognize that I get to do this thing, which means that it is a privilege for me to take time out of my day to worry not about, am I going to find food and shelter and survive through the night, but I'm going to intentionally expose myself to discomfort for the purpose of physical betterment and growth. What a privilege that is. I get to do that. That is not something that is automatically afforded to me on this planet. There's people in the world who literally don't get to do that. I am absolutely blessed that that's even an option. I choose to do this. I could walk away and do something completely different. And the people that care about me care that I'm pursuing something that makes me happy, not because of the nature of the thing. If I couldn't lift 700 pounds and could only lift 600 pounds, my girlfriend would not. She doesn't know the difference. She knows that they're different.
Yeah.
Because she's seen it. But if I was like, yeah, I'm doing this thing, she's like, well, are you happier this way? I'm like, yeah, I'm so much happier this way. She'd be like, then that's what I care about. Your family, the people who care about you, just care that you're happy. The actual accomplishments and accolades that you're receiving, if the person actually cares about you, aren't tied to that. If a person only cares about you for your accolades, they don't care about you. Right. They care about themselves in the presence of a person that they have this idealized version of. We're like, oh, this person likes me and I'm getting social capital from that and I'm benefiting from knowing this person. But like, that's so the choice of doing the thing, no one else is making you do it. It's absolutely a choice. I can't really put myself in the oh poor me situation when I have this blessed opportunity of this thing that I get to do. And it's something that I'm actively choosing to do, where I could easily go and implement that choice in other places. I'm not being compelled. There's no gun to my head that says do the thing or die. And so when those first two things are true, the third one, I want to do this. I get to do this. I choose to do this. I want to do this. Because even if I don't feel like it right now, I'm making the choice that is in service to what I actually want. And maybe that's some delayed gratification. Maybe that's a want that is the wishful thought at the end. But I'm recognizing that the step that I'm taking right now is a part of that process. And it's a way for me to externalize the decision-making process of that transferable skill of recognizing skill development and acquisition, and then be actionable towards that thing. And so then I think with gratitude and joy, my best effort and full intention, let's do this. And that's kind of become my way of like, this is what I'm going through in my mind, because crazy or not, 22 years into the lifting game, not every single workout is like high levels of excitability to go and pick up the thing. Like squatting hurts. Like it's uncomfortable. You're squishing yourself and pretending to sit in an invisible chair that isn't there, and you stand back up again. You're like, why'd I do that? Oh, because I want to be this better person who's more capable down the line, and exposing myself to this discomfort right now is what I actually want, even if it doesn't feel like it.
Would you say squatting is your least favorite then of the three?
No, they like there's times where it's like you stand back up and you're like, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah. It's
probably one of the more uncomfortable ones. Right? Because it's literally crushing your body. But my relationship with all the lifts is very much like
now
has developed over time.
It definitely, absolutely. I was gonna say that. Like in terms of like, do you have specific goals for you? Like even just, I know you said you don't have like, you just kind of like keep working towards it, but like in your mind, is there like some specific like goal? You've already set world records, but like, is there any specific goal? Like
there's been shorter term ones. Well, I've already kind of hit the ones. Like I in my time, I was like, I'd like to hit a 700-pound squat, a 400-pound bench, and an 800-pound deadlift. I've done all those. I'd like to continue on to those. I don't think that that's necessarily my limitation. And I hope no one else is like imprinting that limitation on me.
No.
But yeah, it really has become more about the process. The better you get, or the more the challenge that happens with recognizing and acquiring different skill sets is that the better you get, the harder it is to keep making measurable progress. The more time you spend.
The first few months or year, however long, the first part of like learning this new thing, you're like, oh, I'm making all this progress, I'm doing all these new things, and like all the little nuances and like things that have to really separate like the good from like the great people it's just such a time development. You don't realize, like a time dedication you just don't really get until you're there.
Yeah.
Like, when did refinement. When did that hit you? Like when did that, like you realize like I am like struggling to get like 2 extra pounds on, or my like where was it?
I've had a few instances where it's occurred. Yeah. Is the thing. Like over that time, you might hit multiple points where you're kind of like, is this as far as I go? I legitimately had an existential crisis a few years ago. Where I was like, I started watching Twitch, and I had been making YouTube videos, but I took the worst time ever to take a break from YouTube during the first adpocalypse. I was getting burnt out. I went from posting that was my whole social media presence, was just on YouTube. I made my Twitter like long time ago and didn't engage with it at all. Everything was just for the YouTube, and started making videos, doing commentaries over stuff, and that was like my entire internet presence was as a YouTuber. And I was getting I was making some money from YouTube, and then I stopped making videos for a month. I took a month off, and I'm like, I was getting perfection paralysis, and I started watching Twitch, and I was getting legitimately, I wouldn't say depressed, but I was having a depressive state of questioning, like, some people are going to hear this and think it sounds so silly. Why I wish I would have gotten into like League of Legends. Literally, I wish I would have gotten into a game when it launched, because I feel like I'd be so good at this thing, at this task, at this job, and it's not an option for me because I decided to go into to put all my time investment into exercising instead, into
as a content creator. I've had that thought multiple times. Like, it's just like, I
would have done this at this time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying screw it now, and it's helping. But I mean, like, it's such a true thing that you don't realize until you're at like, just, I mean, like, I can only relate to the content creator portion. I mean, in terms of that. But yeah, keep going. Pardon me.
Yeah, well, it was just that time where I had this depressive state where I'm like, did I mess up? I'm not happy. I'm not happy with what I don't feel like I was feeling repetitive with the videos that I was making. I was like saying most of the things I wanted to say, and that was pretty much getting put out there. And I'm like, I would love to be able to just talk with people when I'm doing this.
Yep.
Like, man, streaming sounds like it would be so great. I would love to do that instead. I picked the wrong thing. I was going into this. And then later that year, actually, I had the opportunity to meet up with some friends who were like encouraging me, like, why aren't you doing it? I was like, well, I can't, there's not really an opportunity. I don't have the stuff that I need to make it happen. And they're like, that seems a little bit inconsistent with everything else that you do, that now, like, all these other things that didn't come easily to you or didn't come the first time to you, and this is the thing that you're saying you really want to do, that's the thing that's stop it, like, you can't find a way.
Right.
And I was like, I guess I'll try. And so I started streaming in a garage on a laptop with a Rock Band microphone that was threaded through. So, like,
you still have it?
I still have it around. It's not here.
Okay.
But I'm gonna say, so I had a GoPro mount. So it's like, imagine this is a GoPro mount, and this is the Rock Band microphone. I just put it through there, and it clamped onto my desk. And every single time that I would bump into my desk, the camera was on my laptop, and so the screen would just wiggle. And I didn't have overlays. I didn't have alerts. I didn't have mods. I didn't have anything. It was me sitting in my garage talking. I had I would get up to go and squat, and this would happen. And I would walk away, and I would you'd see this thing, and I would I had one angle of this. Oh God, they're still up there. I keep them on YouTube so that I can never forget where I came from.
I want to see these early days of Twitch.
It was so, oh man, and it was how far we've come in terms of it. It's just like one thing at a time, because my laptop used to overheat 5 times per stream. It would shut off because it just got too hot. It couldn't handle it.
Can handle the streaming software, yeah.
And you just hear anytime that I was typing, because it's the laptop.
It's like this booming sound. Yeah, exactly.
It was like, it was just everything, like I was just tapping on the microphone or something. That's what it felt like. Your
microphone's also really good, because I didn't even hear what you just did.
It's very directional. It's very directional.
That's funny.
It's blame the interface in the settings, I think. But it's one of those things that it kind of was the next step of recognizing that consistency of like, what kind of person do I want to be? Do I want to be the person who says, I just can't, it's too hard, these are the things that are in the way? Or do I just want to like do the best that I can with what I have and make the most? And it was a very important self-centering opportunity in my life. To go from that of like, oh, I just can't do this, to like, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. I still can't. I still don't have all these things, but I'm gonna try, and centering myself on that effort as opposed to the outcome of like, I don't know if it's gonna work.
Yeah. Focus on the effort, not the outcome. That's
Well, it's because that's all you can control.
Yeah.
I couldn't make people come and do it. That'd be resentful. I will say, if I go on to social media and I see somebody kind of pushing like, need you guys to come here and do this thing, it's difficult because it's like, are you willing to do that for them? Is it reciprocal, or is it an expectation? It's like, I've always tried to keep myself coming back, as difficult as it is, because I'm not pretending that it's easy, but the default nature of how things seem to go or tend to go is you can fall back into the blaming anything else. And instead of blaming something, it's like, what if I just worked on these things that I can? What if that's where I put my energy, where it's constructive? I have been mislabeled constantly as a positive person. People are like, Ben's so positive. And I'm like, that's just wrong. That's just not true. I'm not a positive person. I often will point to and recognize the negative in a situation. What I am is constructive. I will, because negativity exists. And if somebody is denying that the negative is there, that feels like a toxic or even a delusional mental state. It's
you
like, I have to recognize.
I never got that vibe. When you put it that way, it's like, that's a very accurate statement. There's definitely an issue with streamer on Twitter. Is an example of just like this overt, like over the top positivity, I guess you could say, and it's just like this unbelievable standard kind of thing.
Manufactured.
It's manufactured.
It's over the top. If you're feeling positive and you're feeling great, be positive. Yeah, I have no problem with that. It's when it's manufactured and somebody is trying to put on this thing. It's like, is that really how you feel?
Yeah.
It feels like the person is either not engaging with reality, or they're being dishonest. And those are both qualities that I don't want to. And I push the thing. I'm not nice and I'm not positive. I try not to be cruel. I try to be kind. I try to be considerate. I try to be thoughtful of what I'm doing. But nice always felt like a passive, passive thing.
Yeah, nice. I don't like saying nice anymore. It's like, nice things, but I like saying kind over nice personally when it comes to that stuff.
It's more action. Yeah. Kindness is a choice. Nice is
my least favorite label is when it's like when a girl's like, oh, he's just such a nice guy. It's like, oh.
Yeah, it's the niceness, or I don't know. They just feel. I like that I'm being actionable in things.
I like kind is actionable. No, I like nice is passive. I like that understanding of it. It's a really good way to look at it.
That's how I process it. And someone could say, well, I have a different understanding of the word. Like, then it can be a semantic disagreement. Yeah, that's fine. But I'm trying to articulate, like, when I'm talking to them, I'm trying to articulate, like, this is the difference as I see it. And if your version of nice is what I'm saying kind, then okay. But I'm not going to own that label as much. And when it comes to positive, it's the same thing. Like, Ben's a positive person. Like, I just recognize that oftentimes being optimistic about your chances is more constructive and forward thinking and forward moving than being a doomer in terms of just woe is me, everything's awful. Like it's not that I can't engage with negative situations. And I think that sometimes if somebody only knows, like, think positive, it's like, this is negative though. That's not real. Like, right. that's dishonest to yourself. Are you able to convince yourself? Because if so, I don't trust your judgment anymore. If you don't think if you aren't like seeing the negative of that, like, or you're seeing it and you're like, I'm just trying to do it for someone else's benefit, then that's dishonest to someone else. Just feels
an extreme example is insert person passes away. I mean, that's like, for the most part, it's a very negative situation. You can't say stay positive in those moments, like that kind of situation.
It sucks. Like, and sometimes life is painful and messy, and it sucks. And I was saying this last month, I had a really rough month. My girlfriend's been having a lot of health issues, but like, people ask, like, how are you? And I would say, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay. And I'm going to keep doing things. I'm going to keep moving forward, because the one thing I'm not going to do when I'm not okay is to shut down and wait for the world to stop, because I still have stuff that I want to do. And the way that I improve my situation, because I can't do anything about that, or, I can't magically control someone's health and wellness, but what I can do is be actionable about the things that I do have agency in and can control, and make sure that I am working towards being a better version of the person that I currently am, because that's what I have the agency in. And so recentering on that, I think, is so powerful. and so beneficial that I want to encourage. It's not even because that can come off as like I'm not okay and that's okay, keep moving forward. Is like that almost can come off as harsh depending on my tone when I say it, of like, you don't want it that bad, you're not even trying hard. It's like, no, this is because I believe in you and I believe in myself. That should be advocating for your own agency in a situation, not giving that away. That's empowering yourself, because if one of the worst things you can say to somebody is no, like, you're fine. And it not in that context where someone's like, oh man, my life sucks. I'm like, well, you're as good, you're perfect the way you are, and you're as good as you can be. Because if somebody's suffering, that kind of sucks, because now you don't have anything. Like, this is what it is. If I'm perfect, I can't do anything. I can't. I'm hurting right now. I'm sorrowful. I'm not where I want to be. That's not your fault. It's like that feels fault is maybe the wrong word for that, but it's like saying. You don't have agency. Yeah, you're removing someone's capacity for, like, you can recognize, you can be grateful for stuff and still want to work on yourself. Yeah. It's great, guys, I promise. It's so helpful. It's so good to recognize and to find that contentment of like, hey, I'm okay with the person that I am. I'm grateful for this. I don't hate myself. I'm not depressed about the person that I am, but I want more. I want to be more. I want to be able to, I want to be the kind of person that endures difficult situations and can be brave and heroic in the face of setbacks, so that I can be a stronger person for the people that I care about, for myself, for my own well-being. Like that, I've always viewed that as reclaiming your own agency, as like kind of a push away of being coddled and told that everything's just fine the way it is. And it's like, is it?
That definitely, I definitely agree. It is definitely from the other perspective. It's definitely like, I mean, your point is absolutely correct. And then from the other side, it's like, what do you for the record, guys, just don't say what he just said to do that kind of thing. I'm saying from their perspective, it's hard to like communicate. It's like, yeah, it's just like, you just don't know what else to say sometimes, but I get what you're saying. It's true. It's 100%. It's 100% right on that one. So even when horrible things are going on, you can still be pushing yourself forward, not like killing yourself doing it. But.
Well, like sometimes the right thing for you to do for yourself is to take some time to breathe, sit down, breathe, recenter. Like, it doesn't mean you have to just ignore that the thing happens.
Right.
And you shouldn't ignore the thing. The way that you process grief typically is like in its later stages is to be able to accept and recognize that this thing was there. Like, you go through all these different stages, and one of them is recognition and acceptance of noting the things. Man, mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy and those sorts of things can be really, really helpful at being self-reflective and finding those negative aspects. And it does not serve you to pretend like they're not there. I guess that's kind of the core of the point. If you can get better at recognizing, like, here's this negative thing.
Yes.
I'm noting it. I'm recognizing that it exists. Now I'm being actionable and choosing whether or not I'm going to hold on to that. If I was sitting on a creek side and all these leaves that were passing by me had all of my inner states or my emotions on the leaves, some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be bad, some of them are going to be really bad. Me choosing not to, like, I can't pretend like they're not there. They are, but I get to pick which ones I focus in on. And if I recognize that one of them is the really, really bad one that's holding me down and weighing heavily on my soul and tearing me apart, I don't want to pick that one up as much. It's there it is. I'm going to make peace with the fact that it exists.
That it's happening.
I'm gonna invite my demons in to examine them and look and say, you are this toothless, clawless thing, and I don't need to be controlled or held by these bad things, because I can become at peace with the negative things, because it's not all of me. There's more, and I have agency, and I can grow beyond those things.
Right. And so I was thinking about like trying to talk even on your music, but it's pretty much all the same kind of approach to pretty much every single aspect.
It is.
So
yeah,
I mean, it's just the making the choice of I guess just do it. It's just the classic is just do it.
It's embracing every part of the process.
Yeah,
it's not
like you can
just do it. It's
no. I feel
like
bad saying I hate things. It works to a degree. But
yeah,
it's no, but like I agree. It is embracing the highs and the lows all the way through. But it's I liked how you put basically you're focusing on like the work over like the outcome, the things you can control, in terms of that. But is there any like in terms of all of that like some practical kind of things that you can remind yourself? I love the I get to do this. Is there any like legit physical practical things that you kind of do in order your approach for that kind of thing? This is more like a
I recommend for anybody who's trying to do this kind of stuff, because I suck at a lot of the actual like I said, I'm constantly struggling with a brain that wants to default into something that's I actively push away from the statement, that's just how I am. Feels lazy to me. Okay. I like the idea of that's a natural default tendency of mine. Because then it gives you, again, it's actionable. Being selective in how you say things and attaching meaningful consideration to them. The way we talk about these things, I think, is important. And instead of saying, it's just the way I am, it's like, okay, so does that mean you're not going to work on a thing if it's causing you pain in your life, or it's not helping you develop as a person? Is that really what you want to do? You just want to, I guess, default? Or do you want to say, this is a natural default tendency of mine. I'm probably going to have to work harder than another person if I want to recognize that this isn't necessarily something that I want to always have happening, and I'm going to have to be actionable in this other direction.
So basically step one, recognizing like where your struggles are, and then
being self-reflective and being selective with how you talk about it. Being
I think
mindful
the wording
with the word choice
is something like, for me, that's definitely something I was like, that's just a really good way to look at it in terms of like, just the wording of things actually has like the power. Like you can't just throw the words around, because it's going to be the definition goes all over the place then. So that's
and then another be actionable when it comes to recognizing and anchoring yourself in gratitude. One of the best ways to battle against depressive thoughts or feelings of sadness or self-pity are to combat that. Like keeping a gratitude journal every morning before you start your day.
You do that, you said?
I have, yeah.
You have one?
I do. Yeah, I have. I did for a while. I haven't been I've been re-implementing a morning routine, and that's another step to add back in the physical writing of it.
Right.
I've been waking up and doing a mindfulness centering exercise, and then going about my other stuff. But the gratitude journal was something that I did for years, where I just every morning, even if I woke up.
Affirmation, daily gratitude. Yeah.
I woke up. I have a bed to sleep on. Because for years I didn't. I slept on an air mattress for 4 years through college. I didn't have money for a mattress, so I just.
Dang. And you were still going through your fitness journey then too.
Yeah, it sucked. It was awful. I'm so like right now. I'm even with things going really, really poorly in these other aspects. It's like I'm still grateful for these things, and recognizing where you're grateful can really combat those feelings of the world and the universe
is out to get
like
you
coming down on you and those sorts of things. So like being self-reflective, being intentional and mindful about the way that you talk to yourself and about things, to give yourself agency as opposed to some people were saying like to pass the blame off to somebody else. It's like you're just robbing yourself of actionable agency right there. So that's why that's important. Being intentional and recognizing the good things so that you can center yourself from that position of gratitude. And from there, I would say setting process-oriented goals for yourself.
Okay, like
today I'm going to improve something.
Like what's an example of process-oriented goal? I'd say then.
I want to learn an instrument, so I'm going to practice for 15 minutes today. And it's not about I mastered the instrument in 15 minutes, but I'm going to spend 15 minutes. I'm going to set a clock for myself, and I'm just going to work on this and get as far as I get in 15 minutes. Literally, that's process, because it's like the outcome isn't up to you. I don't know how much I'm going to get, but I'm going to be intentional with this time for 15 minutes. Or
so that's why you hear so many people in like fitness saying just going to the gym. Like if you've never been to the gym, step 1. Step 2, like stepping on trails, like just the basic baby steps, and like going off that book Atomic Habits, just like the small things will finally just like eventually lead to something in some capacity. As long as
something's more than nothing.
Yeah, something's more than nothing.
One is more than 0. If you get to the point where you're doing 1, because sometimes people will cast away the entire thing itself because it's not going to be the ideal or the perfect thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very common to do that and to rob yourself of any benefit because you're like, well, it's not going to be great. The perfection paralysis of like, I won't act until it's going to be perfect.
Oof,
if you wait for it to be perfect, you're just never going to act. You're just never going to act.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start. You have to have that. Hopefully you have a friend or you have somebody in your life who's going to challenge you a little bit, like that friend I did when I came up with all these reasons why I couldn't start streaming. And they said, why not? I mean, do you have a computer? Well, I have a laptop. It's not very good. I didn't ask if it was good. Do you have one? Well, yeah. Okay. Start there. Well, it's not going to be great. Probably not. It might be awful. I can't even watch those old streams. It was so like,
but you had to start somewhere.
Yeah, that was it. It's like you got to start somewhere. And now I can look back at those and those experiences have shaped an appreciation for where I am now and what I could do. This computer.
Oh, we can't see the computer, but it's
well, the one that I have next to me that's really cool.
Go. If you go to his channel, guys, you'll see it's really cool.
It was, I mean, that's like the culmination of years of putting this stuff together and prioritizing something. I never would have been able to commit to something like this. It's a really nice computer. And it does more than I ever thought that I would be able to do with stream. Coming from a laptop that would overheat and I could not play a video game on Twitch if I wanted to. It would not have run. It would not have worked. To the point now where it's like I can pretty much whatever I'm limited more by my imagination than by what I have available now. This entire space has changed so much based off of just like improving one thing at a time. And it never would have happened at all if I would have waited, because this stuff never would have come together like in the first place. I'd had to start bad, like objectively awful, to the point where I could make small incremental improvements because I was able to be reminded that you start where you're at and you focus on the process and you take one step at a time. And there's no guarantees that it's going to amount to anything, but you do guarantee that it won't amount to anything if you don't start. And that's such a useful thing to keep in mind, that the one guarantee is that if you don't start, it's not going anywhere. So you have to start somewhere, and then there you go. That's it. That's all you need right there to go forward and do the thing that you're interested in. Kind of try it.
Yeah, I think the interest in kind of is the thing that it's just like when it like for especially for like this podcast, it's like there's a lot of people like I know me in terms of where I have like probably a similar thing like an ADD to you, where it's like I want to try 20 different things. The difference between you and me is like you've executed a lot of them, and I've definitely let a lot fall by the wayside. And it's just more of like a wonder of like, well, why did I stop that? And that was kind of like where the fitness thing came to be. Where it's like, well, I don't want to look back next year again and say, why didn't I work out?
No, I mean, I see stuff like, man, I'm trying to get into TikTok now. I'm trying to find these things, and I hate video editing. I got so burnt out on it from just like 9 years of YouTube that you what?
You can just hire some people like to like edit some TikToks.
Well, it's like that's the thing is I can't, right? Like it's I just have to. But the step is I need to just do that, because why am I not? Well, I can't because video editing sucks, and it's like, well, I take the next step and ask yourself if I really can. I can. I just don't want to, and so I need to. Or I wish for the outcome without doing the thing. And so the way that I have to be actionable about that is I have to start taking those steps and like, okay, I'll make one in this instance and work on it and try to figure out the system, and maybe it won't work, and you know, kind of rebranching out to those things.
Well, this is my first time doing this, so I think it's actually this isn't a terrible place to kind of like wrap it up. Did you have anything else you wanted to throw out there?
I mean, you're gonna have to eventually at some point say, all right, Ben, that's enough, because
I can listen to you all day, though, for the record.
I can sit here all day, which is the problem. Is so.
Where can we find you across the board, just so we can like
just on everything, BenRice_PLG, pretty much. Twitch is my main thing. That's what I love. That's where I spend most of my time. I have an Instagram, BenRice_PLG, that mostly just tries to get people here. I have a YouTube. I have a TikTok. I have a Twitter. I'm trying to be more actionable on all of those things. I've been posting more pictures of my cat and my rabbits.
He does have a cat and rabbits,
we got
guys.
Bunnies and stuff. Yeah, some cute stuff if you want to see that, or if you want to see lifting or music. I do all those things.
He is I'm not joking, guys. Like we were talking about all this fitness stuff. We kind of grazed over the music aspect, but can you actually like tell us like, can you give us like just your background in it, like really quick before we wrap it up here?
I've been singing ever since I was 3 years old, and I studied it in college. I was a vocal performance music major for 7 years at a university. We do music streams where I play the piano and sing song covers on my stream 3 to 4 times a week. It's been a little hard to stay motivated about that.
I feel you. I mean, what you're going.
The DMCA stuff has been frustrating because I have to unlist any VODs where I sing cover songs because I can do it live, but I can't keep the. So I'm
DMCA stuff.
Yeah,
we don't need to go down that path. That'll be another 2-hour topic.
No, 2 or 3 hours right there.
Oh gosh. But folks, thank you so much for joining. Really do appreciate that. And like, my name's Cole, Team Coltrane. This is the Passion Project, and I do appreciate you guys being here. Don't worry, I'm gonna get better at this. I almost said more better. Great job, Cole. We'll be here. We'll do more of this very, very soon. We have another guest coming up next week. It should be Kwitty 23. We're gonna talk about challenge running and similar mental things in his faith and things like that. So we're looking forward to that one. But yes, go follow Ben. Be sure to be following here. And actually, now we're going to open up to like just a couple of questions if there's any patron listeners still in here, because for at least the time being, this in maybe in the future we probably won't have patron live views, we'll see. But for now, any patrons have any like couple questions for Ben? I probably should have prepped that a little earlier, but yeah. But is any questions at all? We can see the chat, by the way. Anything you want to drop? But thank you guys so much for supporting this, by the way. This is actually one of those things where it's like, I've been sitting on this for a long time, and it's like, well, why haven't I done it? Just had to do it. And honestly, this is something I can do for a really long time, even if it's successful or not. And it's just something super interesting to me because I like talking on Twitch. Honestly, this is just a cool place to just finally talk about topics that interest me, which is like basically other people and what they like. The trick for me is not to talk about me, and I love it. Wait, how long have you been streaming now, Ben?
I started first stream was late March 2017.
Late March 2017.
It was a Facebook stream because I didn't have to use an encoder of any kind.
Oh, really?
So started streaming there, yeah, because it was just you have an account. It's like we detect a webcam and microphone, click go live. YouTube, you still have to use OBS or XSplit or some sort of encoding software. And since Facebook didn't, I started there. You need something to be able to do it. And then I moved to YouTube, where I had about 23,000 subscribers on YouTube at the time.
I actually would almost recommend you focus more on YouTube Shorts than TikToks, but that's just me. You can double down. You can post to both. You can make one for both and then post into both, which is what I'm kind of doing. But that's I almost think posting to YouTube is probably more beneficial than posting to TikTok right now.
In terms of transference, I would agree. I think that people on TikTok stay on TikTok typically.
People do stay on TikTok, and the ones that come over most of the time are generally okay people, and then you get some very interesting ones. What was the first game stream? What was the first game you streamed?
Fitness was for all I could do for a while. And then eventually, I remember I played Dark Souls Remastered on stream. Was the first game that I tried to stream.
That was my first game.
That was after we had fundraised and built my first PC, which was significantly less beefy than my current PC. But we got Dark Souls Remastered, and it was an interesting one. I was playing Dark Souls 3 on my own, and Dark Souls Remastered was the game that I was streaming. And then
such a good game.
That was in preparation for what was I getting ready? Oh no, it wasn't Dark Souls. It was Dark Souls 3 in preparation for Dark Souls Remastered.
Oh, you played Dark Souls 3 first.
Okay. Well, my first Souls game was Dark Souls 3, and then I played Bloodborne, and that was like off stream before I ever streamed. I've never streamed Bloodborne, and then
I know we talked about that. I don't remember you ever mentioning Bloodborne. So
yeah, I played Bloodborne before ever finding, like, before ever really watching Twitch regularly. And I remember I played Dark Souls 3, which is one of the reasons why I don't think I like Dark Souls very much. I didn't like it so much. No, sorry, we don't like Dark Souls 3, and then when I went to Dark Souls 1, it just clunky. Felt comparatively. The controls didn't feel as nice. A lot of the things that they've improved about the mechanics of the game, I really, really enjoy. The world building and everything
is fantastic.
I think that is kind of the drive, and I think that a lot of people got to Dark Souls like it was their first one, and they're like, it's got a special nostalgic place in their heart. But we started with Dark Souls 3.
I always recommend start with 1. So my first game also was Dark Souls 1 for streaming. I mean, I started on D&D stream first, and then I made the side channel. This was actually a side channel. first. And then first game, my streamer was like, fine, I'll play Dark Souls. And I played it. The next game I played Bloodborne, then Dark Souls 3, and then it just kept going on and on and on.
I came in on your second Dark Souls 3
during the challenge runs
run. It was Teasor hosted you. I was actually watching Teasor. I was watching Teasor for the first time that I was ever in his stream.
That's right. Okay.
And you were doing you were fighting Curse Rod of Greatwood.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Curse Rod of Greatwood, and it was, I want to say it was like you were using a bow. It was like a bow.
I was trying the bow only run, and then I didn't.
Prepping for it.
Yeah.
It was your second playthrough of Dark Souls 3, and I remember
stupidly chose a bow.
There were like 13 or 14 people in there, and I think that I gifted a sub or something, and maybe sub myself that night, and then I got confused because Coltrane rated me.
Yeah.
The next day, and I thought, well, because I knew you were you, but then I thought when he rated me, I think I thought.
For the record, folks,
I got you two confused.
There's two Coltranes in the Souls community. The one is actually really good at Souls, or he was like known for like doing those challenge runs, and then it was me that was new. He was a speedrunner.
He did GDQ. Yeah.
He was like really good, and then it was me who wasn't bad. It was just new. I was a newer Coltrane, so people got us mixed up all the time.
So you're Cole and he's Colt.
Colt, yes.
Is the thing. Yeah. One of you guys rated me like the next day or something, and I was like, wait a minute, which one was?
I don't remember I rated you first, but I mean, it was. I just know that I got one of. He might have rated me, and I thought he was you.
Okay. It was kind of. But I think that's how we kind of met, and then we met in person at TwitchCon.
We did, yes. There is a picture of us at TwitchCon on my Instagram. Yeah, I was gonna be honest. I thought for some reason, I thought you were, because when you said earlier, people don't think you live. I thought you were gonna be like bigger for some reason.
Yep.
It's deceptive, like how strong like you are, which is great to be honest. But it's kind of funny. Like you're obviously very built. You clearly have muscle. But it was funny. I knew you were strong, just because like I've grown up around like football people and my brothers and like things like that. So there's just like certain thing you can tell about people. It's like it doesn't matter how like ripped or like big the muscle is. Sometimes it's like how kind of just solid it is. So,
I'm a dense boy.
You're dense.
People hug me and they're like, "You're not as squishy as I thought you'd be." Like,
nope.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, though. I do miss your face in person. What was the? Let's see. How did you and Ben meet? We met over Twitch, and then we met at TwitchCon, and then he rated me. Or no, that was it. And then, do you have any future plans or goals for? I guess just in general.
More of this. I want to continue to work on kind of refining and improving the way that I do things. I'm trying to add more skill sets to myself and
opening up
more
a gym?
like little accomplishments. Oh, never gonna open a gym. Those are terrible ideas. Opening a gym is like you just want to throw money away. I used to want to, but I have some friends now who are gym owners, and they're like, Ben, this
sucks.
I'm working so much, and especially if it's going to be like a one for specifically powerlifting as opposed to just a commercial gym.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to be there all the time. You're going to have to, you're putting a whole lot of investment for not much return. They're very rarely profitable. The more specific it is, and like a gym that I would go to, like this is an awesome gym, is almost certainly not a profitable gym because they're spending a lot of money for high level equipment.
I didn't even think about that. You're right.
And they're going to have a hard time filling it because most people are going to go to the gym and like get on a treadmill or something. Most gym goers in commercial gym settings are not using this highly specialized equipment.
Yeah. I guess, here's the question I should have asked earlier. I guess in terms of people, like if they want to start powerlifting, like what's a good just stepping stone? Besides obviously like the starting and all the stuff, the preparation, but like where's just like, is there like a reference? Is there a book? Besides obviously coming to your channel and like asking those kinds of questions.
I just working on, I actually am in the process. One of my goals that I need to work on is trying to come up, because I used to throw out a couple of like, oh, here's some resources to like start. And then I went and I checked out some of those resources that like, because I had such a non-normative start to the process itself.
Yeah.
That a lot of the things that people are usually involved in, I never really participated in. I had a very like an abnormal start to it. I didn't go through the kind of the initial steps that a lot of other people in the sport went through. And I went and looked at those. I'm like, oh, I don't think I'd like that. And so I'm in the process actually of coming up with some beginner guidelines, because people come in, and if they don't have if the question isn't specific enough, it's generally like, where do I start? It's like, well, I guess hang out here, ask specific questions when you have them. But yeah, I'm trying to come up with gathering some resources for some people. So I don't have one yet, but it's coming in the future, in the next few weeks, hopefully, that
look forward to it.
I can have some resources to lead people towards when they're like truly a beginner with no experience.
Right, because I know a lot of people like myself. I personally wouldn't touch. That's not my goal, but I'm pretty sure there are people that are just like, lifting 1,000 pounds sounds fun. So, or at least the idea of it. Say you do begin competing again, would you stream the day of?
Can't. You're not allowed to restream. I don't own the broadcast rights for the competitions. People have asked that before, and some people have tried to do it. And I've seen people like stream stuff on Twitch. I'm like, that's not allowed. You don't have they could, if they wanted to, they could give you a cease and desist order.
Oh, interesting.
DMCA. Typically, if I was going to be competing, then I would want my focus to be on the competition for the day.
Did you have any steps for like mentally prepping for that, or is it kind of the same, similar variations, the same thing?
For competing?
Yeah.
I had one thing that I actually like to do is I like to watch the movie Free Solo before I compete.
Oh, that's a great movie. Yeah, that's the rock climbing one. Yeah.
Really powerful perspective, especially if you get in your own head of, what if everything goes wrong?
Chandra,
at least I'm not going to fall to my death. If everything goes wrong, but what's the worst thing that's going to happen if I have this competition? It doesn't go the way that I want it to, and it's not reflective of the work that I've put in, which is a pretty, a meme in the powerlifting community is your post competition write-up is, well, didn't have the day we wanted, because so often people will go and they'll say all these things, have these big goals and expectations. They show up and they just don't execute, reflective of what their training would suggest, or more often not, they execute exactly as their training reflected, and they had hyped themselves up with these expectations that weren't in line with what their production had been. And when I watch that movie every single time to just kind of anchor myself in this position of the perspective of like, I'm going to try my best.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give my best effort. I'm going to, the mindfulness, acceptance, commitment, like mindset of I'm going to be present in the moment. I'm going to accept that there's things out of my control. I'm going to commit to making choices in service to the person I want to be. Mindfulness, acceptance, commitment. And at least and the worst thing that happens is I didn't have the best total. Like if that's the worst, I guess I could get hurt, but at least I'm probably not going to die. I'm not going to like fall off a mountain face. And it's always such a good centering exercise for me to watch that to bring myself back to almost like a mental piece of like, okay, well, we're just going to go and we're just going to accept what it is. And I'm safe and loved, and I've worked hard on the things, and I'm going to, my best chance to execute this is to just stay present in the moment and not drift towards what I wish would have been different that I can't change now, or think about the future of what does all this mean? It's like, it doesn't mean anything right now. All I can be actionable about is this moment, this choice. What do I decide? And then execute on it.
I love that. You should definitely check out Jimmy Chin's other work, Maru. I'm saying that correct? MERU. It's similar. It's another rock climbing movie. He's an outdoor photographer, but he's really. But yeah, man. Thank you so much. I think that's actually a pretty good place to wrap it up, folks. Thank you so much. Go follow this wonderful, wonderful man. I think this is we're going to end here because, I think actually, you know what? We will, I like including questions at the end of these. So we're going to do this next time as well. So if you have any questions for the guest, please save them for the end, and we'll give 20, 30 minutes of just people answering some questions, asking some questions. But yeah, go follow here. Go follow. Be sure to subscribe, like. This will be posted on, every single podcast platform I can put this on the audio, and the video will be on YouTube. So thank you again, folks, so much. And we look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching the video. I want to give a special shout out and thank you to these patrons right here who allow us to continue making this content. If you would like your name here as well, please check us out on patreon.com/DMColtrane. Thank you so much.